Petition to pledge allegiance to the DJ's brushstroke, the jazz singer's sacred scat, the conguero's poetry. Petition to honor the holy of a two-step when the day feels like a long procession of sorrow. Petition to replace this administration of awful with trombones and xylophones, with blaneros and pop locks, with dreams projected on rooftops from 52nd to 5th and Lehigh. Petition to rename all our streets with the faces of our beloved bards. Hello, Sonia Sanchez Way. Hello, Ursula Rucker Avenue. May we stand at the intersection of love and rage singing, something big is coming. And while we're here, petition for drumming to be an Olympic sport, for salsa to be an official language, for the national anthem to be rewritten by young people chanting El Pueblo Unido down Market Street. Petition to elect the juicy June berries outside my window, the cherry blossoms shedding their pink skins. Petition to be bedazzled by the canopy of sunflowers on Osage, their bulbed skins protruding like speakers. Or just a block away, a blues of lamb's ear grows its velvety skin so soft when they say there's no beauty here, whisper, here is my flag. Petition to be remade and unmade in the making, the way a monarch butterfly might slither from its wetsuit right before diving headfirst into the world. Petition because the time is now to grow new limbs, to say what needs to be said, do what needs to be done, to write what makes the blood move. So petition, not for art's sake, but for art as a basic need. As we collect our collective worth, we collect our dignity. So petition to say resilient and mean resistance. Petition to reimagine, to replace batons cracking peaceful patriots with rolled up posters from West Philly that read, "Solidarity is contagious." Petition to replace canisters of poison with the smoke lyricists leave in their trails, with the singing of "We the people," if and only if we means smoke signal, a billowing cloud of hands that says your liberation is my liberation and my liberation is your liberation. So petition to pick up the brooms and the bass, petition to heed the call of this day, petition to hum that tune as we use our tools, as we dance, as we paint, as we sing, as we do language, as we reimagine, we reckon, as we rewire, we remember, as we join the booming orchestra of movement singing, something big is coming. Something big is already here.
Hey, okay, we're here. We're up. I was so into what Denise was saying. That was absolutely amazing. Wow. I was all caught into that. Hi, everybody that's watching us right now. I'm Rocsi Diaz. I'll be moderating this panel for you guys today. I see a lot of us are tuning in from all over the country. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for all the Latinas that are here for our Make a Difference tour with She Se Puede. I see Illinois is in the building. I saw California checking in. I saw Chicago checking in. Of course, the star of the show today is North Carolina. So lots of love to everybody. Keep on doing comments, telling us where you guys are from. Shout out to Washington State. I'm going to be checking out your comments, and if you have questions throughout the panel, I'll definitely address those for you, all right? And I'm so excited for this panel today. It's a group of beautiful women that will be joining us. But let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. You know, for many Latinas, this will be their first year ever voting. And in some cases, it may even be the first time anyone in their family has a chance to cast a vote in the U.S. election. Now, we're going to have a chat with some university students and alumni about what's most important for them, for young Latinas, and the role they want to play in the future of America, and how the rising cost of education affects us all. So without further ado, from Lambda Pi Chi, let me go ahead and bring on our panel so I can get them to introduce themselves. I see Brenda, I see Quinny, and Sharon. There we go. Yay. Okay, we're all here. We're ready. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and let me know if you're a current student or an alumni, and I'll start with you, Sharon.
Hi. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Good. My name's Sharon Navarrete. I am a senior at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. This is my last semester. I'm actually taking an underload, so I'm only doing one class, which is nice. I'm a sociology major, and I'm an incoming event marketing specialist for TTI. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Brenda, you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Brenda Medina. I am a graduate of Campbell University in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, Bowie's Creek. I graduated in spring of 2018. I currently work as a legal assistant for the Johnson County District Attorney's Office here in North Carolina.
Awesome. And last but definitely not least, with that beautiful red lipstick, Quinny, you're up.
Hey y'all, my name is Quinny. I graduated with my master's at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with my Master of Social Work. I actually joined a graduate chapter. So after college, our organization has the gives us the opportunity to join as already graduated college students. So that's what I did. And I am living in Saxbahaw, North Carolina. And yes, and I work to promote access to mental health.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. And first and foremost, congratulations, all of you, for achieving that dream, getting that education, and making us proud out here, proud Latinas. I love it. So we're going to jump right into it. Before I tell you guys that you didn't send me any Bojangles today, but that's okay. Please have that in the mail for me. If you guys don't know about Bojangles, it's the best fried chicken in North Carolina. Okay. What I want to know is, a lot of students and a lot of young people are thinking about organizing these days, but they feel like a little intimidated when it comes to putting groups and events together, or any initiatives together right now. So I want to know from all of you guys, what motivated you to start your organization on your campus, and how hard was it to even attract members, especially right now during a pandemic? Have you seen like a slowdown in people wanting to like participate or not? Quinny, I'll start with you since you made this scrunchy face.
Yeah, so because of the pandemic, it has affected our ability to have new members into the organization, at least in the graduate chapter. So with us, we do intake with people all across the state, and we've had to modify some things, but that hasn't kept people from wanting to connect. Over the summer, we had a series of just like networking opportunities, and we had like Latina connection nights where we just connected with people across the state. And there's definitely still a desire for even graduate level Latinas to want to connect. Yeah, I'll pass it on.
Awesome. Brenda?
I am actually a chapter founder at Campbell University. Lambda Pi Chi was the first Latina-based sorority at Campbell University. We were founded in spring of 2018. So a lot of challenges getting a chapter started. But here we are, almost 2 years later. And recruiting back then, during the pandemic, so we were able to, interact with people on campus, have events. So it was a lot easier. And Campbell is a private, conservative campus. So what attracted me to our organization was the fact that we didn't have anywhere to go as in Latina women. We had a Hispanic association, which I was a part of, but it still wasn't enough. I needed more. I wanted something else that was, in a sense, larger, and that had more networking and connection opportunities, which is what Lambda Pi Chi provided for me. But like Quinny was saying, currently, due to the pandemic, we can't make those face-to-face interactions. We can't connect with people on a more personal level. And it does make it a little bit difficult, but social media is our best friend right now. And we're trying to connect, do Facebook Lives, do virtual events, to try to stay connected with all of these wonderful women across North Carolina.
So Sharon, I would ask you same question, but also what would you tell young Latinas that are thinking about joining an organization or wanting to start their own organization? How would you motivate them?
So kind of going along with what Brenda mentioned, it is very difficult to try to gain interest currently because of the pandemic, especially with the way that school is going on nowadays. Thankfully, I'm only taking one course, but I know for my fellow classmates and my fellow undergraduate hermanas, they're kind of struggling. Everybody's kind of struggling because it's so much, it's a lot of work at the same time. And there aren't as many resources as there used to be. So I think that is one of the keys that our organization can provide. At least going to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, it's very much a PWI. There's a lot of culture shock when you first arrive. And I think we do a really great job in trying to attract people that kind of want a little bit slice of home, but also really also focus on academic excellence and giving back to the community, and professional and personal development. So the nice thing is right now, you know, through this kind of pandemic, it's nice that if there are those organizations on campus, there's such a sisterhood with things. I remember when I was prior to COVID, all of us would study like all the time in the library, and we would be really each other's supporters in that. So if there is a Latina that wants to join an organization, I would reach out. Honestly, as Brenda mentioned, there's a lot, pretty much all of our sororities, any sorority at this point has to do some sort of social media or things like that. But that sisterhood, that connection for the well-being of another person, of an interest, is still there. So if somebody is still interested, they should definitely reach out. Again, that connection doesn't change regardless of the circumstances.
Yeah, I feel you, because I remember back when I was your age and I went to school. No, just like, but I remember having like that culture shock feeling that you're talking about, Sharon. And I went to school in Thibodaux, Louisiana. So you think you're in the middle of nowhere? I was really in the middle of nowhere. And there was nothing like your organization there at the time that would support Latinas coming together. Because I would have loved a Thursday night, arroz con pollo night, and we all get together and we get to eat. But that didn't happen. So what kind of ways do you guys reach out to new people to get the word out? Is it text message, social media? What have you seen as the best method of getting the word out and connecting with other Latinas on campus? Sorry, I didn't. Brenda, we'll go to you. Sorry.
Really right now, social media, Instagram is a big way that we reach out to women. We have, each chapter has their own Instagram pages, and we also have a regional page. We're from the Southeast region. So that's how we promote events, whether it's sorority events, North Carolina events, everything. That's really what we use. We also use, I know I'm not in Twitter, but a lot of Twitter conversations go on there. And that's really what we're doing. Everything, our sorority right now is not hosting in-person events any type. Everything is through social media is the way we word out through all platforms. I know we have used email, but that's a little bit harder. I feel like when you have like a virtual meeting like this, it's easier to connect with someone because you actually see and you can see expressions, and it's just it's a better connection than reading a text message or an email. So that's what we're doing, how we connect with women right now.
Right. And I want to ask Quinny, because it is always important for us to be able to come together and support one another. But Quinny, let me ask you, why do you think organizations like yours and in general are so important for the college experience and for you guys to engage in civics and activism so early?
Yeah, I think they're really important because they let people know they're not alone. I think culturally, like sororities and fraternities are incredibly important, but when you come from a community that has experienced some form of systemic oppression or who has been jeopardized by laws or policies that haven't always been in your favor, it's so helpful to be around other people that are like, oh, I get that. Like, you don't have to explain what you've experienced. I know because I'm like you. And so when you're surrounded by a cluster of people that united are able to talk about those things and not just share your feelings, but also do action steps and move forward, I think it's so helpful. One thing with Latinas Promoviendo Comunidad, Lambda Pi Sorority Incorporated, is like we have 3 values. Our core values are la hermandad, la comunidad, y la cultura latina. And so for us, like, it is part of our like organization's DNA to support la comunidad. And so finding an organization that not just gets you as a person, but also understands your values and propels you to do those is so important in helping you find ways to put legs to those thoughts and desires and wishes for your people.
I love that I'm looking in the comments right now, and some people are just like me that missed out on the opportunity. It looks like Catherine Rivera is here ready to get everybody through the graduate chapter, and right now, and Kelly Cruz is ready to sign up also. But Sharon, for you, I want to know, how did joining this organization change your experience at school, and why is it so important for young people and young Latinos to get involved in civics and activism at an early stage in their life?
Okay, awesome. So for me, I've a little bit of background about me. I've moved around this point like 20 times, and I've been to like 13, 14 different schools. So making new friends is never an issue for me. I'm like totally fine with being like making friends with a complete stranger. But what I really did miss was kind of what Quinny mentioned, with the idea of having somebody that ties with my cultural identity, and then the kind of support system that holds. I think one of the ways that I described it to some friends a long time ago was like, I can make friends, but it's different when a person shares your culture. Like there's that warmth there that Latinos naturally have, I feel like, that you don't get with making friends in other places. And most importantly, I think is also, for many people, especially for many Latinos, there's many first generation students or college students that don't really know how to navigate through the systems of a university, especially at a PWI, and kind of come out successfully through that. There's so many things that have changed in the past couple of decades that make the workplace much more competitive. And so having that professional type of development is also really important, which I really appreciated. I learned a lot about resumes and how to interview. And I also had amazing idols that I could look up to, who were all these incredible professionals, and could guide me in the, like through internships and all those different things that I had no idea about. I just knew that grades and extracurriculars were the thing to do. But, you need internships now. You need like recommendation letters. You need all this other stuff that I had no idea. And in those idols as well, there's many people that are actively involved in the Latin community, in the Latinx community, and play a big role in terms of doing activism or having something involved with civics, which I think is a really important part of young Latinos identity. Young Latinx identity, being that a lot of us are coming from immigrant households who have, as you mentioned, are the first ones to vote, are the first ones to really be able to participate civically without as many like repercussions. So I think it's great. And I mean, if you're in college, if you're smart, you're motivated, like you have time, like see what you can do to help change things so that people who may not have access either through legal status or education or all those different barriers put in place so that people are kind of oppressed, I think it's important for us to kind of push through and break down those barriers, and getting involved young and civically is important.
I agree with you. And it does do something when you're talking to people that know your similar story, your similar background of when your family came to this country, or if you're the first one in your country the first one in your family to go to school here in the United States. It's different when you can communicate that with somebody that gets your story and they're not looking at you crazy like, huh? Like, what does that mean? And now I'm getting questions from everybody that's watching this right now. And they really, really want to know, how can they join, and can they join as a professional? You guys didn't know you guys were going to be doing an initiation today. But I'll put a question to Quinny. Can you join as a professional?
Yes, you can. I joined as a professional. So I graduated college in 2013 and I crossed into Lambda Pi Chi in 2018, so spring 2018. So I had a few years there where I did my professional thing and started grad school and things like that. And so the thing is just kind of finding a chapter near you. So if we can share this link that I just dropped in, it's the Lambda Pi Chi, that, at least for us, we have several professional chapters across the East, New York, DC, all across New York. Honestly, we started off in Cornell, and so we really thrive ourselves on trying to infiltrate PWIs. So you can definitely join. You can, as long as you've graduated with your degree, like your bachelor's degree, you're welcome to join any of these chapters. And even if you are at another school, that if you're an undergrad and you're like, we don't have a chapter at my school, you can definitely look into starting your own chapter there too.
I love that. Thank you so much, Quinny. I think it's a little too late for me, but we'll see. Shout out to, it's never too late. Yeah, that's true. It's never too late. Shout out to Elsa Collins, who's also checking in with us in the comments, one of our founders over here at She Se Puede. So one thing that's been driving me insane, ladies, is that everybody's in the news right now and they're talking to us of how important the Latin vote is right now. We got to get the young Latin vote. You know, we got to get people engaged and excited about it. But what are some of the things that you guys are encountering from your peers that they're saying about maybe why they don't want to vote, or how are you encouraging them to vote and let them know that their voice matters? I am going to start. We haven't talked to Brenda in a minute. Brenda, let's start with you.
Oh, I love this question. So I am actually a DACA recipient, so I do not have the privilege to vote. But that does not stop me from pushing my community, my people, everyone from voting. I think a lot of times we forget that voting is a privilege that not everybody in the country gets to do. So I'm very big on pushing for voting. The excuse I hear very often, especially from younger people, is my vote doesn't count. My vote doesn't matter. It's one vote's not going to make a difference. Okay, one vote doesn't make a difference, but you say that, and then your sister, your brother, your cousin, your neighbor, your classmate hears you say that, and they stick with it. They're like, yeah, he's right, she's right. What doesn't matter? Like, what difference is it going to make if I do it or don't do it? Multiply that by everybody in the country. How many votes are not being casted every year? And think about your family. Think about people who don't have that privilege, who need to be represented by you, who need a voice, who need to be heard. Voting is important. It doesn't matter if you're not happy with the candidates. It doesn't matter if your parents have never voted, so why should you? Or I don't understand our system. I don't know who the candidates are. Learn. We have literally the world at our fingertips on the internet. You can do research. Don't rely just on social media. Do your own research. Talk to professors. Talk to your friends who may be more politically involved or who have more experience. There's lots and lots of ways to really learn and engage and push people to vote. Be the voice for those people who aren't heard every day.
And I love that you shared that, because I was in your shoes also a few years ago, where I was an immigrant to this country, and then I got my citizenship. But before that, even as a TV personality and preaching vote, I didn't have the right to vote until, I got my citizenship. And I always tell people, you really don't know what you have until it's gone. So imagine not having the right to vote. There would be an uproar and people would understand how important it is. So I really commend you for even not having the ability to physically, and one day you will, and I can't wait for you to have that opportunity, but being able to, tell people, look, I can't do it. Since you don't want to do it, how about you go vote for me? And so I gotta give you props on that, because I know exactly what it feels like. And it sucks because people don't take advantage of the right that they have. So my next question to you, Sharon, is what do you say to people that are your peers or even family members? Because our family members, especially the older ones, you're like, ay Dios mío, do you not see what's going on here? And they're like, oh, my vote doesn't matter, or, it doesn't count, or I don't have time. What do you say to them?
So I'm very thankful that a lot of people in my close peer networks are very passionate about voting and are aware of their stake in this coming election. So I have a lot of friends, for example, a good amount of my hermanas have been doing these voting action plans. And so you check on your friends, hey, what's your voting action plan? And some people will be like, oh, I already cast my, my absentee ballot, or I'm doing in-person early voting, or I'm voting on election day with my family. But I think right now we're in a kind of weird situation because of the pandemic, but also in a unique situation because a lot of times one of those biggest excuses was for older generations, you know, like, I don't have time, like, I don't have work, I have this stuff. And it's like, yes, right, but now you can literally order an absentee ballot. You can get it in the mail and then put it in the mail, and then there you go, 1, 2, 3, like, it's done. So I think that's one of the biggest proponents that I've said before, where it's like, listen, like, I'll sign you up, I'll send you the link. Here's the link for you to sign up, for you to cast your vote. Right now, I don't think in North Carolina you can ask for one anymore, but it changes from state to state. And there's a lot of early voting booths, and a lot of them are open until like 7 after work hours, or some of them are also open on the weekends. So for my family, we're all, some of us are still permanent residents. The rest of us just got our citizenship about like 2 years ago. So we are like really excited to vote because, again, we were without it for quite a while. So we are ready to kind of like start.
I love it. Such a good feeling too. I always laugh because I'm like, the experience of going through your citizenship and trying to take that whole American history test all over again and knowing more than some of the citizens here, it's like, you take this over again and see if you can pass this test, because I bet you that you can't. Quinny, I'm going to ask the question to you. How do you motivate your friends and your peers, your family members to get excited about voting and let them know that their vote does matter? It does count.
Ooh, girl. So I am consistently blowing up my Instagram feed. I'm pretty sure everyone's annoyed by me by now, but I think that's the point. So I think I was explaining this to a few people yesterday, like whether we know it or not, people are watching us, and everything that we say or do, whether it's good or bad, people are going to see it. And so I'm like, I'm going to own that. Like, I am going to use you watching me to let you know what's important and what matters, whether that's going to be a news clipping, just reminding you like, this is what's at stake, like if we don't vote, or just posting things like, hey, like voter registration deadline is so-and-so. But it also goes beyond like social media. It extends into having those hard conversations. I have a few family members that are undecided about who they want to vote for. And so it means like having those uncomfortable talks and just letting them know like, hey, like, this is what's going to happen. Like if this happen, if so-and-so is unelected, and these are some of the risks. And so it does require not just your social media. It does require having those talks with the people that matter to you.
That's right. Just get a whole big old pot of sancocho. Everybody sit down and let's talk about what we got to do right now as a familia. That's what I'm talking about. I love what Ingrid Villalobos said in the comments. She said, we need to vote for those who can't vote. And as Brenda and I were talking, I completely agree, because we both know exactly what that feeling is like. Now, everybody also, they want to talk about the importance of this election, but the issues that matter to you as young Latinas. What are those things that matter to you and the changes that you would like to see in the next administration? So when you do go and cast your vote, what are those things you're looking for from candidates? And I'm not just talking about our, the presidential race. We also have to talk about a local level on the propositions that may be passed as well. So I'll start with you, Sharon. What do you do?
In terms of what are the things that I'm looking for?
Yeah, like your essentials and how you prepare to make your vote.
Perfect. So I consider myself very much an issue voter. I don't really fall on either side of the spectrum. I don't like have an allegiance to any particular party. Interestingly, I have switched over since when I was younger. I just listened to my parents and listened to my community, and I started asking questions, and I did my own research. And then doing that research, I realized that a lot of things that what I've learned when I was younger, especially from places of privilege, I was like, oh, wait, I was like, that doesn't sound right. That sounds weird. So then I did my own research. And so now I vote based on issues, on what are the issues that matter to me. So as a young, Latina student, obviously anything revolved around student loans, higher education access, that's a really big importance for me, especially with student loans, just because they're very, that whole industry, and it is an industry, has very predatory practices. And especially for young Latinos whose parents never went to college or whose parents went to college in a different country, you don't even realize what you're signing up for. You don't know what's going on. And there really isn't that many people to guide you. So I think because of that, then you end up having these huge loans. So I think that's a really big importance for me, but also care a lot about the environment. And again, I'm a young person, so I'm going to be here if the environment ends up being like horrible. So that's really important to me, as well as health, and like health that is available for everybody and at a fraction of the price versus with the current healthcare system that we have today. So for me, as far as my voting plan, I am voting in person, but doing early voting.
I like that you touched on the fact that, you do your research and you play both fields, because I'm also an advocate. It was like, you do your research on your candidates so you know that you're voting for the person that has your ideals and what you want to see in the change to come. And that's only by studying up on them a little bit. Elsa and I always talk about the take-home ballot and you can mail in your ballot. Do the take-home test at home. Don't show up at the polls not ready, knowing what you're doing. You can Google and search as you fill out, your ballot, which is something that I plan on doing as well. So same question for you, Brenda. What are some of the things that you're looking for going into this election, and what do you take into consideration as you ask other people to cast their votes for you as your voice?
I'm with Sharon. Do your research. Like that's that. I'm not gonna tell you who to vote for. I'm not gonna go for one side versus another side. You are your own person. You have your own opinions, thoughts, beliefs. It's just voting is just as important as any other life decision you make. You consider the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's how you should go into it. When you're ready to vote, like do your research. No person is perfect. No party is perfect. And that's what you need to do. Do your research. Don't go by what your family has done for years. Don't go by what your partner has said, what your coworkers are saying. Really do your research. And like Sharon also said, I am also issue driven. You have to represent my values, my ideals, my beliefs, and that's how I would decide or help people decide who the best candidates are for. And you also have to remember, it's not just presidential elections. You also have an influence on your local government. And I think a lot of times we lose focus on those candidates because of the presidential elections. And those more statewide, countywide elections have a more direct impact on you. So don't forget to do that research as well. Don't just go by the chismes in your town about such and such person, or by what is being posted on social media. Like, genuinely look into it, do research. Pretend you're in school and writing a paper, and you need to have sources, like legitimate sources. I can't remember the word that was used in school, but sources that are real, not Wikipedia or whatever else there is out there now. But yeah, I'm definitely more issue driven, and just whatever you have to align with what I believe in, what I believe is right, and what I think is going to be good for not only myself and my people, but also for us as a country.
I agree. Thank you so much. And Quinny, I want to give you the opportunity to answer as well. And one thing that Brenda touched on that was so important, and Sharon did, is we're not voting our parents' politics anymore. Government is so different from whatever country we came from or whatever they believed in back then. And it's about making the choice that you believe in right now. So as I say that, because Quinny, you look very opinionated too. What issues are you very passionate about, and how do you decide what to focus on?
Yeah, I think the older I've gotten, the more issues that I become passionate about. So I've learned a lot about healthcare in the past 2 and 3 years, and just learned not only the limitations that people have in attaining healthcare, but also how hard it is to pass laws. So in North Carolina, one of the big things that was holding up the General Assembly for the past few years has been Medicare expansion. And so that has not gotten passed. And we then ended up having the coronavirus. And so you have all these people that technically, if we had passed Medicare expansion would have been approved and would have had like kind of a safety net, but instead just are uninsured. And so if they have to go to any doctor visits, if they have any illness, like they have to pay out of pocket, or they have to end up buying like a high deductible plan. So it's just not affordable. And also immigration and anything that really affects like Latinx people or immigrants, like that's something that's like super close to my heart. And so for me, it's like I kind of just see like, okay, who are the people that are most vulnerable, and who is making the decisions to impact them in a positive way. And so even with immigration, like undocumented people don't have access to health insurance. So how are we making sure that the policies that are being passed are enabling them to have healthcare access? And is there ever going to be a chance for them to have health insurance? So I'm really looking out for those people that are really going to pave the way and break down walls.
Quinny, you mentioned something earlier too. You said how you use your social media to be able to provide information for those. And yeah, some of your friends might be sick of you by now, and all of us for posting the message. But it's so crazy because sometimes people do get burnt out. They'll block you, they'll mute you, they don't want to talk to you because they're like, "Ay, viene Brenda, and she's only going to talk about voting right now. I don't want to talk about it." So how do you guys prevent the burnout effect around your crew and your circle and your social media following as well? I'll start with you, Quinny.
Yeah, you really have to make time to have fun, and whatever fun means to you. Like for me, fun is going on a walk by the river, just like being in silence, being surrounded by nature. Like I have to dissociate from reality sometimes, or like just the news. So you have to kind of set your boundaries and create opportunities for you to do something that's fun. And because I do love social media, I also know that sometimes I have to take a break. And so it can be really easy to like want to constantly stay engaged. But that old saying of like, you can't pour into others if your cup's not full. Like if I'm constantly giving, and I'm not making time for me to rest and replenish, I'm gonna burn out. I've experienced it before. It's a terrible season of life. And so if you're young and you can start setting those boundaries now, it will take you a really long way.
I'm gonna go to Brenda next. Brenda, how do you prevent the burnout, not only for yourself, but also amongst your friends, and they're not running away from you or sending you to voicemail when you call? They're like, no, I don't wanna hang out with her.
Yeah, I think both sides burn out. You as a person posting and talking about like you need to go out and vote, you need to be alert, you need to be paying attention to what's going on. You get burned out of being that voice, and it can happen very quickly, especially when so much is going on around you and there's so much to keep up with. Like when you mentioned, my way of preventing burnout is just disconnecting. Like turn your notifications off. Don't look at Facebook. Don't look at Instagram. You don't have to go back and forth with a person who doesn't see things the way you do. Yes, speak up and try to get them to understand, but there's some people who just don't get it and don't want to get it. And learning to know the difference of somebody who genuinely is interested and wants to have a conversation about what you believe, and somebody who's just there to push your buttons and doesn't want to learn. Because I think that's really where you get burnt out, is when you sit there and bicker back and forth with a person who really has no interest in really learning and educating themselves on a topic that they may not be familiar with. And for people who are listening to us host or talk about politics or voting or other things, you're allowed to disconnect too. I think all social media apps right now have a way where you can like temporarily mute or stop from seeing certain people's posts. Do that. Do whatever makes you feel okay. It's okay to not be involved in everything. I think as women and Latina women, a lot of times we feel like we're supposed to do it all and we're capable and we're gonna do it, but we're not superwoman. We get tired. You're human. It's okay to take a break and back off and let somebody else help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help and just take a minute to breathe.
I want you to talk to my mom, because you can't tell my mom that she can't do it all or she's not superwoman, Brenda. You might have a problem right there with my mom. Just saying. I want to shout out to Catherine Rivera right now, Quinny's fan club. She loves your media posts. She paid people to come into the comments, guys. That's all she did.
Shout out to Kathy.
Well, how do you prevent the fallout and the mental, like, just blocking that people tend to do when it comes around this time, because they don't want to keep on hearing about voting and voting. So how do you keep motivated, and how do you keep sane during this time?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, Sharon.
Okay, I thought you were asking me, but I didn't hear for 1 second. I was like, okay, so we're gonna skip over. Okay, I mean, that's cool. I guess because I'm the young one. I don't know. Some disrespect. I'm kidding. So I'm not like Quinny and Brenda. I am not very much on social media anymore. I use it once in a while, and I do a lot of reposting, but I really do work on having those conversations with people who are interested in my personal life or in my community or people that I genuinely interact with, because I've fallen into kind of that deep hole of on Facebook and be like, well, what are you saying? And then it's and I typically, if I do post something out of that's not a repost, I typically just kind of put facts down. I'm very fact oriented, and I will go ahead and put that down. And then if people want to argue, I'll make it a post and be like, I'm not arguing with you. I just check out this post. If you want, don't at me, because I will block you. Okay, no, I mean, don't at me. But if you want to have an honest conversation, you can DM me, because I'm not doing this comment back and forth type of thing. Plenty of people do that, and I would rather use my time and my ability to connect for another person from a different background in a more intimate setting. So that's my thing. But I also I work a lot on trying to focus on replenishing myself and replenishing those around me. So rest is important, but I think restorative rest is, I think, more important. Doing things for yourself and setting boundaries that allow you to gain that energy back rather than just take a moment and just kind of and so that might mean spending time with family. That might mean journaling. That might mean doing self-care, cleaning, I don't know, whatever that looks like. And then also using this time to advocate for taking care of your mental health, because a lot of people are experiencing it due to the pandemic. And it's interesting because my family, 5 years ago, was adamantly against therapy, and they didn't understand what mental illness was, because it was very much vilified in Ecuador. So back then in their generation. So I've kind of used the anxiety that everybody's using as a way to introduce topics in my communities or in my circles that were kind of touchy, because now I feel like people are at a place where everybody's overwhelmed. And so any sort of relief that could be beneficial might be welcome. So I also try to do that too.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I want to just read a few comments. We have Keith D. Garcia. Some of the fellas are chiming in right now. He says he sets boundaries for yourself. Set boundaries for yourself, mi gente. I unplug when my fiance comes home from work. That's thoughtful. And I hope unplug means unplugging from like a PlayStation or something like that. No, I'm just playing. Also, we have Caitlin Agron. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. She says, yes, taking a break is essential. Latinas need to prioritize their mental health, which often gets neglected, something you just talked on, Sharon. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. We only have a little bit of time, but I really want to talk on this subject right now. A lot of Latinx young people have to choose between going straight to work and getting that paycheck or paying for school and getting their education. So what can we do to get more Latinos and Latinas to consider higher education and making a difficult choice like that? I'll start with you, Sharon.
So I have learned a lot about higher education. I've worked for organizations that focus on higher education for like Latinx, young Latinx. So I think one of the biggest things is to understand that getting a college education is really important for a lot of different careers. So if you know what you want to do, if you know that you don't want to go into a trade, because I think people kind of don't take trade school seriously sometimes, when a lot of times like they're actually really great and you can make a lot of money and have a really stable job. But so I would recommend for younger Latinos to really figure out a little bit what they want to do. There's a lot of different career tests that you can take. And I'll share some of my experiences. When I was younger, I knew that I wanted to go to college, but I was like, oh, I want to go kind of like to a brand. I was a little bit of a brand person. I was like, oh, I want to go to UNC. I want to go to Duke. I want to go to all these different places. And now I'm just like, no, you don't, because the student loans are not a game. So, and I would choose to apply to schools that fit you as a person. Like figure out, do I like smaller classes? Do I like bigger classes? Do I like places where maybe it's more expensive, but they have more scholarship opportunities? I think those are really important to find the right fit in your school and reach out to those different organizations that do have scholarships available. And, if there are Latinos in your community that have gone to college, reach out to them to see, to kind of help see if they can give you any advice on preparation to succeed in college or preparation to fill out FAFSA or to fill out, figure out about loans. So I think there's a lot of information now out there, but it's a matter of trying to distill that in a way that's comprehensible to somebody that's new to it. And I think there are guides online, but it also might just be really beneficial to reach out to your community. So if there's older Latinos, Latinas, Latinx people who have children who are interested in college, look in the comments. There's a lot of young Latinx professionals who went to universities and who might be able to help. So I would definitely take advantage of networking within your own community.
And we only have a few minutes left, guys, but I want to give Brenda and Quinny a chance to comment on that too. So if you guys, for those young people that are having to choose between going straight to work or going to school, getting a higher education, what would you suggest to them? I'll go to Brenda first, but remember we only got a few minutes left, and then to Quinny.
I worked a full-time job, part-time job, full-time student, and did an internship, and founded a sorority in my undergrad years. So if I can do it, y'all can do it. I didn't know what sleep was during that time. I didn't have a 4.0 GPA, but it was good. It was above a 3.0. But yeah, I was tired. But when you want something, you find a way to do it. Like I mentioned, I don't have I don't qualify for financial aid. And I went to a private school, like Sharon mentioned, sorry. I went to a private school because they offered me more scholarships. Yes, it's a little more expensive, but for me, it was cheaper in the long run. But I did have to work the entire time. But honestly, guys, if you want it, you will find a way. Just try, give it a shot, apply to all these colleges, apply to multiple schools. The worst thing they can say is no, and then you just move on and go to the next one and keep trying until you make it. So that's my advice. And school isn't for everyone, but there is other things you can do that you can make a good living out of. And if it's what you love to do it. Go for it.
You just heard her run down everything she does, full-time job, this, that. This was the same person that was like, we can't do everything. I'm just going to put that out there, Brenda. Quinny, it's your turn.
That was amazing. Yes. But yeah, shout out to trade schools. Just one last plug, because welders are on short demand and they make bank. So consider education anything that's going to up your knowledge and skills. For me, it was going to graduate school. I had never taken out loans in my life, and I knew I really wanted to further in my career. And so that was really the big thing keeping me from graduate school was, okay, I can either go out of state or stay in state. I stayed in state because it was more affordable. We have great schools in North Carolina. And I had to have some really serious conversations with people about loans. Like, okay, like what does this actually mean? And I think for Latinx people, we're so used to paying everything in cash, not having any debt. And even though it's not something that we want to accept, unfortunately, when it comes to like graduate level work, it's something that's oftentimes we have to consider. I also want to encourage people to look into scholarships. Like there are ways to get funded to go to school. You can look in your school, ask around. There are scholarships everywhere. Some people are begging for people to take money away from them, and that rarely happens. So definitely look for those opportunities.
I love it. Thank you so much. Really quick, I want to shout out David Medina. Brenda, your brother is here showing you love on the comments right now too. So gotta love them. Sharon, I'm going to shout you out because you say you don't do social media right now. So I'm going to shout you out from me to you. We could discuss this later. But I have to tell you guys, I've had so much fun. The time went so fast. I was like so worried. I was like, are we going to be able to fill up an hour? And we did. And it was fun. It was informative. And I feel like I got 3 new girlfriends, so I can't wait to meet you guys one day in North Carolina, and one of you guys are going to have Bojangles for me.
We'll hook you up.
One
We
of
got
you.
you. We got you.
I'll make arroz con pollo and everything, but one person has to bring me Bojangles. Sharon, Quinny, Brenda, thank you guys so much. Really quick, shout out your Instagram, social media, your personal email address, Sharon, if you want to battle somebody on, you want to give it out. I'll start with you, Sharon, and then Quinny, and then Brenda.
I do have social media. I'm just not on it that much. But it's Shay_stays, and that's for my Instagram. If you do want my email for anything like related to, I personally, again, I like helping out, and I like having personal connections. So my email is sharong@live.unc.edu. So
we'll get it out there for you.
There you go.
Quinny, really fast.
Hey, my Insta is Quinny, QUINNYRSL.
Awesome. And Brenda?
My Insta is Chiquivale, CHIKIIVA.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you so much. And everybody that was commenting on our section right now and that was part of the conversation, thank you as well. For more information, make sure you guys keep on going to sipuede.org tour for more programming that we're going to be having. And again, thank you to this wonderful, powerful Latina panel that we had today. Keep enjoying the rest of the day. Bye, guys.
thank you for having us. Bye.
Make sure you vote.